What is up, my YouTube family? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, then it's just welcome to my channel. Not welcome back. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button because you will not be disappointed. Unless, of course, your taste level is lacking. If that's the case, girl, there's plenty of options out here for you. You guys. So, first of all, I want to say thank you to everybody who left positive comments and good vibes, prayers, just any and all of the things on my last video. I appreciate it greatly. I responded to as many of y'all. Child, I tried to respond to damn near everybody. Okay. The response was indeed overwhelming, in a positive way, of course. I don't know. I feel like y'all have always been real supportive, but I don't know. It was just really there, this last video. I really greatly appreciate it. Y'all always make me feel so supported and so loved. And I feel like thank you ain't enough. Like, I really love y'all. A lot of y'all mentioned how when I said I was going to give a life update and the Bella update, at the end, y'all fast forward to hear that and then listen to the story. So I'm gonna do the update in the beginning this time. And if you don't want to hear it, I'll put the timestamp in the pinned comment for you to just get right to the story. But for everybody else, as far as myself, today was the first day that I woke up really feeling like myself, like feeling good. This particular time, the ride up on the antidepressants, y'all, was really rough. Like, the last time, I don't remember having any of the side effects. This time, though, girl, I had headaches and nausea. The nausea was horrible. It typically makes me sleepy. So this time around, I said I would take it before bed. And then by the time, I sleep through that, I'll be good to start my day. However, this time around, it made me very nauseous. And the nausea would last till the morning. The headaches as well. I had horrible headaches and extreme anxiety and cotton mouth. My mouth been so dry. I've been lugging around this half gallon and I will be done with that water by the time I finish filming with this, I believe. Yeah, I don't know. Really weird. Not sure why. I guess because I'm older now. I don't know why things have been different for me this time, but I feel like I've made it out the woods because now I am actually feeling better. I feel like me. So that's good. The one thing I do want to talk about as far as like the supporting stuff and why it's just so important and why I'm so grateful for it. I was on somebody's live on TikTok as a viewer, just looking at the comments. And the girl was very emotional and she was talking about her struggle with her mental health and how she's been so depressed lately. And she feels like, what's the use of still, continuing on? Like, what's the point? Somebody in the comments said she should get professional help or seek some sort of professional help. And then another person in a comment was like, she doesn't need professional help, she needs prayer. And she then responded to the comment about prayer and she was like, I pray all the time I talk to God, I feel like he's not listening. She doesn't ever feel any better. Like, she's done that a lot and she feels like nothing is changing for her. I just really wish that as a society we would take mental health more seriously, because you wouldn't tell somebody who has cancer they don't need chemo, just pray. Or somebody who has diabetes, you don't need insulin, just pray. Mental health is equally as important as physical health. And sometimes you do need medication for it. Like, sometimes you really do. You can pray about it, of course, but it's literally no different. It really, really made me even more grateful for the supporters that I have over here who understand and are just so supportive. And I wish more people had that, honestly. People who understand and can give them sound advice. And that's not to say prayer doesn't work or anything like that, but mental health is health, okay? And health is wealth. So take care of your mental health for real. I just don't see it any differently from an ailment of the body. And it's perfectly okay and a lot of times necessary to get a professional treatment plan. All of that being said, I did start working out last night, y'all, because that's one of the things that I really wanted to get back to doing. I did like 6 Bulgarian squats. Girl, those 6 squats almost took me out the game. That was just a little starting point for me. Now, that's not the only thing I did with my little workout, but girl, I could only do 6 of those, okay? Them 6 squats, I said, yeah, that's enough for the glutes and the quads tonight. And I tell you, after that, I must have looked at my glutes in the mirror, girl. I looked at that little piece of ass, girl, I know, 42 times. And I could see the progress. I thought I could until I woke up this morning. I was like, damn, either it was deflation or delusion. I don't know, but what I was seeing is no longer there. And so, yeah, that's how that went last night. As for y'all's niece, Bella, child. She's had 1 session with the trainer. It was about an hour and a half. It went really well. He is a behaviorist, so he specializes in behavior modification. And from his professional opinion, Bella is not that bad. He does feel like he can get us where we need to be. Honey, actually, both of us are in training, okay? Both of us are being taught things. I learned a lot about her, things to look for, certain social cues, and that her like the way she acts is not aggression, but like it comes off as aggression, but it's really like more of an anxiety base. Somebody recommended getting the Adaptil calming collar. She has it on now. She's had it on literally since my last video, because I went to Amazon and told them to bring one by my house right away. We put it on right out of the package. So far, so good. I'm more hopeful. I really, really like James. He seems to really, really know and understand dogs and what he's doing very well. And Bella was very responsive to the type of things that he was showing me to do with her. So I'm hopeful. It's looking a little better. I have a lot more hope. And I appreciate everybody who reached out to me who is in this type of work. I had trainers email me, trainers in the comments, giving me very helpful advice. And yeah, much appreciated. So all positive updates from the last time that you seen my face. Y'all see I'm wearing the natural curls. And the thing is, I'm trying. It's been like this since last night. It's growing on me a little bit. I like it. I do. I just feel like the thing is, my hair is like a party where all genres of music are being played. There are so many different textures and curl patterns going on here. And literally the perimeter of my hair grows straight. It's a lot going on. That's why she's always tucked up under a wig, girl, or straightened. Look at these. Like, girl, why are you straight? Why? Why is that happening? So we just gonna tuck her back up under there. Look at her. And then, child. But yeah, I'm trying to rock the curly hair a bit more. And that's pretty much it for the updates. Y'all, today's video is about Candy Montgomery. Candace Wheeler, aka Candy Montgomery. And this is the messiest, one of the messiest cases that I have researched. I watched the Netflix special, Candy. I think it was Netflix. Oh, I think it was Hulu. May have been Hulu. Anywho, I watched the series and I wasn't familiar with the case beforehand. And it was kind of lackluster. That was my opinion beforehand. I felt like it was very boring and they were like alluding to things that they did not show us. I ain't like that. And those feelings were even further confirmed once I did the research. And I'm like, yeah, they left out. Like they told the story, but girl, y'all could have done better. And I was very excited to find out that I believe HBO is doing their own version, and I hope that they do a better job at showing exactly what happened. But nevertheless, today we're going to get into all of that. It is so messy. And so without further ado, let's just go ahead and dive right in. Candy Montgomery was actually born Candy Lynn Wheeler on November 15th in Lucas, Texas. And I'm sorry, gang, but she is one of ours. And it's low-key giving Scorpio. I ain't gonna lie. It's so sad. She is a Scorpio child. And Candace, affectionately referred to as Candy, grows up an Army brat, moving very frequently throughout her childhood from one military base to another constantly. Now, Candy is reportedly a very, very pretty and very charming child, which makes it very difficult for those around her to tell her no. And over time, this gives her the idea that she deserves any and everything that she wants. That anything Candy wants, Candy should get. That an initial no should be viewed as an obstacle as opposed to a boundary, no matter the circumstance. And this way of thinking will follow Candy all the way into adulthood. Before she even finishes high school, Candy moves out of her parents' home, no longer wanting to abide by the rules that they had set for her. You see, Candy is one that always knew exactly what she wanted, and altering that for the likes of anyone was simply not an option. Now, she gets herself a little job to cover her household expenses, and quickly realizes, like most of us, that having to work and pay bills is truly a very ghetto experience. It was nice having her own space where she could make all of the rules, but having to work and pay for everything on her own was not her jam. And she decides at this point that this will not be the life for her. Candy decides that she needs a rich, wealthy husband to come and pay for it all. And she can be a cute little housewife, a little mom, maybe have herself a cute little job, something light, something that doesn't get her, dirty, something cute. So she begins dating around, measuring each man's potential to be her knight in shining armor. But none of the men that she's meeting quite measure up to what she's looking for. They're cute, they're nice, but they don't quite have the funds. you know? When she meets Pat Montgomery, he is not all that attractive to her, and he doesn't quite measure up to her ideal husband wealth-wise, but he does have the potential to do so, and he is seemingly well on his way. Pat is an electrical engineer at Texas Instruments, making $70,000 a year. This would be the equivalent to about $340,000 a year presently. The two of them meet at work. She also works there as a secretary, and every chance she gets, she turns on the charm to lock in and secure her meal ticket. Now, it does not take long before Pat is completely smitten by Candy, also feeling like he's found the person that he wants to spend his forever with, but for completely different reasons. He wastes no time at all marrying her. The two of them buy a very beautiful house in Wiley, Texas, and shortly after, they welcome a daughter, Jenny, and then the following year, they have their son. Settling into her new life and new town, Candy begins looking for things to do outside of the home to keep herself busy and entertained. She joins the First United Methodist Church of Lucas, and there she is befriended by Betty Gore. Now, Betty is also a wife and mother, and she works as an elementary school teacher. Her husband, Alan, works for an electronics company that requires him to go on lengthy business trips, leaving Betty alone a lot of the time to care for their child. Now, this overtime takes a toll on their marriage and Betty's mental well-being. So this friendship with Candy offers her companionship that she'd been missing for quite a while and very desperately needs at the time. They attend church gatherings together, social functions together. They arrange play dates for their children and confide in each other about their personal lives and sometimes the lives of other people. Girl, they get together and gossip. You know how that goes. Betty would complain about her husband's absence and how much she wishes to have him home more, and Candy would complain about how bored she'd become with her husband and just life in general at this point, right? Life for her was missing excitement and spark. She'd also begun telling her close friends that she was interested in having an affair to add a little razzle-dazzle to her life. Nothing serious, no commitment, just thrill, you know, to shake things up a bit, that's all. In her mind, she actually begun curating a list of potential suitors, and once she had decided on one, she would then devise her plan to seduce them. And the man that she settles on is Alan Gore, Betty's husband. Now, Alan is not much more attractive than her own husband, but he's a lot more outgoing and he has a lot of personality and a stronger presence. And this is what she really likes about him. This makes him attractive enough. She had already deduced from her many conversations with Betty that Alan was, like her, very bored in his relationship. And this makes her confident that he would be open to having this affair, at least for a little while, you know? And so Alan Gore becomes the latest thing that Candy wants, and Candy has decided that she will have. Now, whether intentionally or on purpose, she runs into Alan at a church volleyball game. He's not looking all that cute, but he smells amazing. And she decides to go in and let him know that and also make her move. She compliments his cologne and then very casually admits her attraction to him and proposes that the two of them have an affair. Child, at the church. This takes Alan completely by surprise, and initially he tells her no. And his reasoning is he doesn't want to hurt Betty. Like, he would never want to hurt his wife in this way, especially with a friend of hers. And so with that, the two of them go on about their way. But as the weeks go on, Alan cannot get this proposal out of his mind. Now, at first, he simply just cannot believe that Candy would propose something like this. But then he starts to contemplate it and daydream and fantasize about what the affair would be like if the two of them did have one. Not to mention, whenever he'd see Candy, she'd give him a little, you know, say the word and all of this is yours kind of look. And finally, he makes the decision to take Candy up on that offer. The two of them meet, and Candy has some rules and a plan in order to prevent either of their spouses from finding out. She also makes it very clear in the beginning that they're just here for the fun. That's it. They are to only keep it between the two of them. No strings attached, no pressure from either one of them on the other to leave their spouse at any point. No jealousy, no messy behavior whatsoever. And in the event that either of them become emotionally attached, the arrangement would end immediately. And they both have the authority or the right to pull the plug and end things at any point for any reason of their own. The two of them will meet up once every 2 weeks, either on a Tuesday or a Thursday, at a hotel right outside of town where it's unlikely that anybody would recognize them. Alan agrees to all of her stipulations, and in December of 1978, the two of them embark on this affair. It brings them both so much excitement that they very quickly alter their arrangement, making it every week instead of bi-weekly. For Candy, this affair was as fulfilling as she had imagined it would be, and at no point did she regret it. Even while sitting across from Betty, listening to her vent about her frustrations within her marriage as their children play together in the background. Honey, Candy does not miss a beat being Betty's best friend and confidant. And what at first begins as quick meetups for sexual encounters gradually becomes picnic dates in a hotel room after a sexual encounter or before one. Candy would cook meals for them to have together there in the hotel room on the floor. And over these meals, they would talk extensively about Alan's perspective of his marriage. And from there, they actually begin exchanging gifts. When Betty reveals that she is now pregnant with her and Alan's second child, Candy feels a twinge of jealousy, but she puts those feelings aside and does what a good friend would do. Throws Betty a very nice baby shower and then continues on with the affair, unlike a good friend. Several months later, Alan and Betty attend a couples retreat intended to mend troubled marriages, right? And afterward, Alan decides that he wants to give his marriage another chance, which means that he now has to break things off with Candy. Per her own rules, she peacefully accepts, but she is completely distraught because rule number 1 had already been broken. She'd begun to catch feelings for Alan, and he had begun to catch feelings for her as well. To make matters worse, Betty also contacts Candy after they return from the couple's retreat to tell her how surprisingly well it had gone, how much she looks forward to seeing this change in her marriage and things going back to the way that they once were. And she encourages Candy to do the same for her and Pat to see if they could fix their issues as well. But instead, Candy decides to remedy her issue with simply finding her another person to have an affair with. It'll give her that thrill that she's now missing, of course, and also give her the opportunity to get Alan off of her mind. But in the meantime, she continues this illusion of having this great, perfect marriage. After this, Candy is not as present a friend as she once was to Betty, but not because she has this guilt or feels remorseful. Betty is what came and stood between her and Alan's situationship. Betty is the reason that she had been told no and denied something that she very desperately wanted. Months later, the Gores begin to backpedal within their marriage after Betty is hit with postpartum depression following the birth of their second child. Doctors had assured the Gores that over time things will get better. Alan is trying to be as supportive as he can, but he doesn't quite understand what Betty is going through, and this disconnect only puts more space between them. It also, of course, doesn't help that he has to travel for work, now leaving her home with 2 children to take care of. But even with the current issues, he's still committed to staying faithful to his wife and working it out. When Betty finds a lump on her breast, at this point, life is just doing too much, okay? She's just been hit with a lot. She reaches out to her old friend, Candy, hoping that Candy could offer her some of the support that she once had. And by this time, Candy's infatuation with Alan, Betty's husband, had eased up quite a bit. So she feels more comfortable being there for Betty to a degree. Instead of finding her a new side piece to fill that void of razzle-dazzle and thrill and excitement, Candy had actually found herself a couple of other hobbies and was entertaining the thought of starting a business of her own. One of the ways that Candy offers her support is keeping their oldest daughter, who is best friends with her daughter, to give Betty a little bit of a break from having 2 children to look after all the time. On June 13th of 1980, Betty and Alan's daughter Alyssa is over at the Montgomery's house for a sleepover with their daughter. And Candy decides that she is going to take the young girls swimming. But Elisa does not have a swimsuit, and so she would have to go over to Betty's house to get her one. Alan is out of town on a business trip, and before he had left the two of them, he and Betty had a huge argument about it because he was traveling very frequently and it was becoming a lot to deal with for Betty. But unfortunately, this was a business trip that Alan was not able to get out of. And so he just reassures her that everything will be okay and that he will support her as best he can from afar. Once he lands and settles into his hotel room, he calls Betty just to check on her, make sure she's okay, offer her some TLC, but Betty does not answer the phone. Alan waits a bit, does some work stuff, attempts to call Betty again. No answer. And after several more of his calls go unanswered, he reaches out to a neighbor to ask them to go by the house, just do a quick knock and check on Betty, but Betty does not come to the door. When more hours go by without Betty answering him, Alan reaches out to the only other person that he feels comfortable asking to check on his wife, and that person is Candy. So now when he reaches out to Candy, Candy reassures him that she had just seen Betty a couple of hours before. Literally everything is fine. She's probably resting while the baby is resting. Alan then hangs up the phone and dials another neighbor. Okay. This neighbor sees that the lights are still on in the home and it's very late at night, so that's pretty odd. He goes to the front door and finds that the door is unlocked. The first thing that he notices when entering the home is the sound of the baby's cries. This baby had been crying for so long that her little voice was hoarse. And not only that, her diaper was completely full and heavily soiled, which is very obvious that she had not been attended to for hours. The next discovery would be a lot more horrific. Inside of the home's utility room, he finds Betty, axed to death, lying in an enormous pool of her own blood. The right side of her face completely obliterated, and her arm literally in pieces. This neighbor takes the baby over to his wife and calls the police. He also calls Alan back to give him the horrible news. And once Alan manages to compose himself, he calls Candy to break the news to her and also ask if she could continue to look after their daughter for a little bit longer. She expresses her sympathy, agrees to keep Alyssa for however long he needed her to, as well as provide any other support that she could. He thanks Candy and she hangs up the phone and immediately breaks down in her husband's arms and tells him what Alan had just told her. The news of Betty's murder spreads like wildfire throughout the neighborhood, and people are terrified that there is this crazed axe murderer on the loose who has yet to be discovered. The police, of course, begin their investigation right away, and the first thing that they notice when they enter the home is a small bloody footprint or shoe print that they believe has to either belong to a woman or a child. There was also a lot of blood on the bathroom sink and the bathroom wall, which suggested to them that the person had cleaned themselves up before leaving. Now, because she was the last known person to see Betty alive, called Candy in for questioning, and she tells police that she had gone to the house early that morning for the swimsuit and then left to teach Bible class, and everything was fine. Betty was fine. However, a 5-year-old friend of Elisa was on her little way to see if Elisa could come outside and play, and she had seen Candy leaving the Gore house at 11 a.m., much later than when she told the police that she had gone for the swimsuit. Now, this bit of information coming out paired with the fact that Alan Gore also admits to having an affair with Candy to investigators causes them to then zero in on Candy as a suspect. And the final straw for them that really sealed the idea that she is the one that had done this was her refusing to take a polygraph test. When she refuses, they officially arrest her and charge her. Now, as Candy is changing into her little jail jumpsuit, the jailers notice cuts on her feet and bruises that she had obviously been careful to conceal. And this, of course, is very obvious. Candy's trial begins, and when she takes the stand in her own defense, we finally get to hear the details of what had happened on that day, at least according to Candy. She claims that she had acted purely in self-defense. She'd gone by the home to get the swimsuit for Alyssa. She and Betty engage in a little bit of small talk, and to her surprise, Betty completely blindsides her when she asks Candy, "Are you having an affair with Alan?" She then claims that before she really could even respond, Betty comes at her with an axe, swinging it at her and hitting her toe, which is the reason for the cut on her foot. The two women wrestle for control over the weapons. And after gaining the upper hand, Candy knocks Betty to the floor, but Betty keeps coming at her. Fearing that she has no other choice and now having the weapon in her hand, she just begins swinging it at Betty. She doesn't do so once or twice. She strikes Betty with the axe 41 times, continuing long after she was deceased and only stopping because she had gotten tired. Now, in a lot of people's opinions, including mine, that goes far beyond a little piece of self-defense. However, the defense team calls upon a psychiatrist who has a little bit of a different opinion and point of view. The psychiatrist that testifies on behalf of Candy tells the court that he had hypnotized Candy right before the trial had started during one of their sessions. And in that session, he had revealed a traumatic childhood memory of Candy's mother raising her finger to her lip and shushing her as a child. And he says that Candy had been triggered when Betty had raised her finger and shushed Candy during the confrontation. It was his professional opinion that Candy had experienced what is called a dissociative event, and that this altercation with Betty had triggered a psychological reaction in Candy. She became unaware of what she was doing and essentially losing herself in a blind rage. For the duration of her trial, details of their friendship, details of the affair with Alan are all told in great detail. And at the conclusion, the jury takes a little over 3 hours to deliberate before coming up with a verdict: not guilty. The courtroom erupts with a lot of emotion, anger, outrage. People scream at Candy as she leaves the courtroom. No one could believe that she had been fully acquitted. After the trial, the Montgomerys move out of town, fearing for their own safety, their safety of their children, their future. They pack up everything and move to Georgia. But it is not a happily ever after for the Montgomerys, at least not together as a family unit. A couple of years after moving to Georgia, Pat and Candy divorced. Candy has allegedly moved on with her life in peace, living as a free woman and working as a mental health therapist. I did see some articles that said that she moved back to Texas by now, child. So I don't know where she at in the world, but I do know she is not in jail. Okay. After the trial wrapped, Alan also left Texas for a fresh start. He relocated, eventually remarried. He had lost custody of the children after everything went down to Betty's parents, and later on down the line, he did reconnect with the children. Like I said, Hulu's show Candy does lightly breeze over the case. I felt like it was a little lackluster. If you watched it, let me know your thoughts. I felt like it fell flat. I'm sorry. It was boring to me. HBO's new series about it called Love and Death premieres in April 27th of this year. You can check out the trailer online. It doesn't really show much, honestly. I will be watching it though, just to see how it compares to Candy and what Hulu did, and just see how well it does laying out the case. But that is pretty much it for this video and the life and times of Candace wielding her axe, girl. I know y'all gonna have a lot to say about this one. This one was really messy. I believe that Candy, she probably did ask that lady if she had been sleeping with her husband when she got there for that little swimsuit. I believe that part. But I don't believe she just started swinging an axe at you, girl. You had no other choice. I think they got to fighting and tussling, and you just flew into a jealous rage because you wanted that lady's man and you wanted to have your man too. And she was standing in the way of that and just had his baby. I think that's what it was. Let me know what you think. And I cannot believe that she walked away a free woman. Insane. Let me know your thoughts down below. Please don't forget to like the video before you go. Subscribe if you have not. Share this video with a friend. As always, I appreciate you so much, for real, for spending your time with me. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. What is up, my YouTube family? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, then it's just welcome. Child, not today. Not today. We having a good day. Let's not do this. Take 2. My head hurt. From one mere as a child, Candy, in order to prevent either of their spices, not either of their spices. Jeez. Police investigate. No, girl. What am I talking about? However, it takes a little over 3 hours to deliberate, not deliberate. Is this pizza? Deliberate. Child, my head hurt. I don't know if it's because of Candy or the antidepressant. What I have not been doing lately is posing for a thumbnail. My hair done got so big since I started filming. Like, girl, stop growing.